Well, the garden most definitely does not look like much right now. There's nothing in here other than a couple perennial herbs that are kind of, well, no, actually I moved them over there, didn't I? Yeah, a couple perennial herbs and that's it. I moved these tarps out here a couple weeks ago to help smother out any remaining weeds that we still have from this property when we moved here. We built this garden last summer on very raw ground. Okay, so for the most part, this garden is really going to be ready for plants as soon as our last frost date moves. This area over here with the wood chips looks really good. Looks really just really good soil. And those wood chips are really helping to smother out the weeds. This over here is really looking good, with the exception of a few weeds that I covered up and a couple over here that I'll just cover up with some cardboard that I got from the dollar store. If you're looking for cardboard, just stop by your local dollar store. They have tons of it in the back. Now let's take you over to what I call the East Garden. And this is where we will be putting, watch out, our cool season plants. We're in the midst of getting our garden gate situation under control over here, but it hasn't been a priority until as of recent. So last year, this is where I had pretty much all my warm season plants. So I'm switching things. And this garden is really ready to go with the exception of a few little areas with weeds that I'm just gonna cover with some cardboard and smother it out. But for the most part, we covered this whole garden with leaves from the fall and grass clippings and chicken manure and straw. And it looks great. I am really excited to be planting in here. Again, when we moved in here, October of 2021, all of this was raw ground, completely covered in goldenrod and milkweed and all kinds of crazy weeds. And I did battle those last year for the most part in some areas. In some areas, I did a better job of laying down cardboard and wood chips, and I didn't have an issue with the weeds in those areas. But from starting from raw ground and using my lasagna gardening method that I talk about all the time, this is a success story for me to come out here and see it looking really well. Now this is the area that I struggled with weeds in last year, so I really need one more tarp over here just to kind of get out the rest of this green before I start planting things. But I'm gonna focus my efforts over on this side, which is ready to go. So I have some cardboard over here, trying to kill out any weeds that may be remaining. And then I'm gonna cover this area, it's a pretty small area, with cardboard or another tarp if we get one, and try to get that ready for when I get the rest of the plants out. So I kind of have a little timeline that I'm going by here. Since I can't just afford to go out and buy, a 3,000 square foot tarp covering, I'm using my planning methods and timing to kind of start to determine what areas need the most attention. Now this over here, I covered with our compost, which is in the chicken yard. We do like a deep bedding kind of method over here with the chickens. This is where my original compost was and still is. And I dug a bunch of that up that had been cooking over the winter and laid it down here in this area with some cardboard, again, to smother out the weeds. And this is where we're gonna be putting our attention, hopefully here in the next week, planting onions and potatoes, cabbages, cauliflower, and broccoli that I'm growing indoors with some colder hardy, frost tolerant herbs as well. So I've mentioned in another video that what I'm doing here, instead of having shorter gardens like I did on that side, I'm doing long gardens from an east-west orientation. So they'll be 40 foot long and 3 to 4 foot wide, depending on how I can access them. So if the beds over here that are against the fence, those will be 3 foot wide so that I know I can reach all the way across. This bed right here will be 4 foot wide because I know that I can reach in from either side of the walkway. So if you're looking for a vantage point of how wide to make your gardens, 3 to 4 foot is a good measurement. Something you can keep in mind is that most garden supplies like tarps or frost covers can tend to be 3 to 4 foot wide and 25 to 50 feet or 100 feet long. So you don't have to worry about cutting and, you know, misshapen tarps and things like that. If you stay in those parameters, you can pretty much just buy it and lay it down. So that was kind of my thought with going longer and staying within 3 to 4 feet wide, if that makes sense. In my next video, hopefully we will be planting this out and showing you my intensive gardening methods. I'm doing sort of a intensive gardening / crop gardening style out here, which I'm really excited about. And you can see how nice this soil looks. And what you're seeing is a combination of leaves and wood chips and manure and grass and things from the fall that we've just allowed to cook over the winter. Yeah, so since we're going to try to sell at the farmer's market this year, we want to do more of a crop style gardening with long rows, but I still want to utilize my intercropping, intensive planting, and companion planting methods because I really believe that those provide the best ecosystem and habitat for all your plants. Whether you're looking to bring in pollinators or repel certain pests, or just the beneficial aspects that some plants have when planted next to another one. So I will really get in the weeds with that, about that with you in the next video, so keep your eyes open for that. But you can also check out any of my resources on my shop at pepperandpinedesign.com. I've already put out some workshops. You can listen to audio or video, and then there's the guidebooks that you can access that will walk you through a lot of these steps, a lot of these ideas and methods step by step, you know, helping you determine what plants to grow, which plants to put out in the spring, what's the difference between intensive gardening and companion planting and succession planting, all these terms that you can sort of get lost in the garden. I try to really work through those and define those in my various workshops and guidebooks on my shop. And those are going to continue to roll out as the season goes. So check those out, grab one. I feel like they're a really good price point for anyone that you can just read through it and put it to work immediately in your garden. And of course, I will keep you updated on what's going on out here. I'm so excited that we finally get to get out in the garden here in the next few weeks. All right, stay tuned, my friends.